Hi, this is Summer Todd. Tonight we're doing our show on the Rupert murders, which happened at Easter back in, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the year now.
75.
1975, I believe. Then also there was another murder, Francis Lloyd Russell in Hamilton, Ohio, which was kind of odd. So we're discussing that this week. So feel free to comment and listen in, and we'll begin. Uh, we're discussing the Rupert murders was in Hamilton, Ohio, and that was what it was like one of the largest murders of a family. And then my son Austin and I were discussing that there was another crime back in 1925 where a man killed his family. I think it was 8 family members, which is kind of weird in a place like Hamilton, Ohio. It's not that big of a city, so we were just kind of we discussed it last week, but our video didn't work out, so we're kind of revisiting it.
And that hit, believe it or not, that hit me kind of hard because that show was great. I'm still reeling from that video not recording. That
Well, stuff happens, but yeah, yeah.
no, my father-in-law even showed up in it
Really?
and said hi to Roger. So that did hit me a little hard.
That's what really sucked because I was like, you guys are always talking about them and stuff, and I finally get to see them, and freaking it was like, bam, you know what I mean? We finished that whole thing off, and no audio whatsoever, you know. So tonight, the audio, everything is getting recorded, so we're gonna have a good copy of it no matter what. And
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. This'll heal the grief over the.
Well, it's like I said before we started the stream too. Like, I don't blame this on Rumble. Blame it on Discord. This is 100% Discord's bullshit. And I always talk Discord up because it really is probably the best freaking VoIP out there. You know, and that's just my opinion. But they're assholes too. Like this, and Twitch does the same thing, or it used to do it when it had the same abilities where you could get on and chat like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I like Discord because it lets me chat with you and old John and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk. It's easiest to talk to you guys both on there.
right. Well, I mean, but we could just pick up from last week.
Well, we're gonna have to go through all the stuff we went through last week too, though. You know.
Yeah. Here, well, I'll just kind of.
Yeah. The other true crime stuff.
Yeah.
I'll touch base on this. The Rupert murders were an Easter Sunday massacre on Easter Sunday, March 30th, 1975, when 40-year-old James Rupert Fago shot 11 members of his own family in his mother's house in Hamilton, Ohio, on Minor Avenue. And I believe they said, let me see, it was one of the largest. What do you call it? What do they call it? Familicide murder.
Familicide.
Yeah.
Familicide. Yeah, that's the one I had a problem with because he kept saying it and I kept forgetting it. Familicide is a.
Yeah, it's not a very common word to hear used. So.
Right, and so I always knew about that because I grew up in Butler County. So then, I was on Facebook one time and I saw that it said this is not the only murder that happened in Hamilton like that. So then I saw this article about now my thing's not opening about Francis Lloyd Russell, who killed I think it was 8 family members, because what happened with him, let me see, this is the story here. About Russell. Let's see.
You, you're
Um. Okay. I think he killed 8 family members. I'm trying to see. I'm not seeing.
He
Yeah,
did.
eight.
He
Yeah.
did.
He was supporting the whole family back in 1925, and it happened in June 25th, I think, or something. And I guess he was just having trouble because his brother and his wife lived with him, and their kids and his mother. And the house payment back then was $1,600, and so that's an amazing amount back in 1925.
Oh God,
now
if you adjust for inflation, that's probably like almost 10 grand a day or something.
Yeah, and
hold
his
up.
reasoning for the whole family was that he just felt like he was going to lose the house. They were going to foreclose on it. He was getting behind, and he just felt like he couldn't do it anymore, and that it was best that they all die. But with Rupert, he was just jealous of his brother. The Easter murders. He was just his mother was talking about throwing him out. I think he was 45.
He was a bum.
Yeah, and his brother had his shit together. He had his stuff together, and his brother came to visit with his wife and children. So it was kind of the opposite of the other murder. His brother had all of his stuff, had his stuff together. Was not just able to support his family, and was coming over to visit for Easter. And his brother was mad, and because just I think because he wasn't doing well and just was jealous, and he decided to take out the whole family. But on the Lloyd side, it was the guy's brother was sorry. He was the sorry one, I think. No, he wasn't helping him, and he was just kind of living off of him. So it was kind of a yin yang thing there. But I think it's very odd in a town like that there's two large murders like that of families, and very similar in some ways.
And you said there was like
Circumstances are
how many people?
them.
How many people was it that you said were in each family? Like I know one had 11.
Yeah, and he was the largest. I think that's the largest. Where was it? What did it say, Austin? The largest. Huh?
Rupert was the largest. Rupert was the largest familicide in American history. That was 11 people.
And
Then before that, that other guy had the record
yeah,
from 1925. He had the record.
Yeah, Francis Lloyd Russell killed 8. And I'm trying to see if Francis Lloyd killed himself. I don't think he did.
He tried to, and he failed.
Yeah.
Now, is this in the same town?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the messed up thing about it. They were both in Hamilton.
And that's weird because it's like I said that you talk about the United States. So what's the likelihood that that's going to happen in a town the size of Hamilton? Is not that large. I mean, it's not huge.
And then on top of it, in the same town, 50 years apart. I mean, what are the odds of that?
Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of strange things that people talk about with that stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but like certain events happen over a certain period of time, and it just causes people to just flip out and kill other people. Like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but like, why do they come up with like shows where frickin' 75 years, every 75 years something happens that causes like a
It's like a repeat.
yeah
A repeat, isn't it?
yeah
It's
like
weird. Yeah. We noticed that in at the old house where we used to live that the woman across the street, her daughter wanted to build a house on the property there. So she let her daughter build a house back behind her, and her daughter moved in, and then her husband died. And so you know, they ended up, her daughter ended up moving away. But then later on, when we lived there, some people lived back that we were friends with, kind of. Our neighbors lived back there, and their daughter decided to build a house on their property. And then her and her husband, I mean, she almost lost her husband because he went to prison for a while. But it was like history repeats itself or something, you know?
Yeah.
It was like weird on this little
It's
road.
like
It was.
it's like something gets set in the energy that shapes physical reality, and creates a feedback or something where, like a feedback loop that makes history just repeat or like loop itself, maybe.
Right, yeah, because it's fun. It was with our one neighbors, the house behind them was their daughters, and then our other neighbors moved into that house eventually because her daughter left, and then their daughter built a house in the property they owned. It was so strange. It was like history was repeating itself. It was weird.
Well, I was thinking, like, I didn't want to embarrass you guys, but I was like thinking about stuff like Jeepers Creepers, you know what I mean? Like a monster freaking hibernating for 75 years and comes up and all of a sudden he's wanting people's eyeballs and shit, you know?
It's similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds weird, but like, listen to what you're saying there. It's like the same town within 50 years of each other. Maybe like there's a freaking evil spirit of some kind that's hibernating for 50 years, and then all of a sudden it needs victims or some shit, you know?
That's possible. So if that's true, that means that next year they're due for the another big familicide in Hamilton. Or
Talking with people though, I get Minor. I think one was on Minor Avenue and another was on Prospect Avenue. They're not too far from one another at all. Location wise, they're only a few streets apart too, which is odd. Yeah.
They're just down the street.
Well, I think a few streets over, because like when we were doing this interview last week, in Elmer, that Austin's father-in-law was saying that they're not too far. Those streets are pretty close to one another. They're not like blocks away from each other. They're like a couple streets apart.
Elmer was saying something about them having changed street name or something. I think it used to be Prospect and they changed it to Progress or something later on. But that one street where the massacre in 1925 happened, I think they changed the street name or something. But the point is, those two streets are still close to each other.
Yeah, I mean, and Hamilton's not that big, and they're on the same side of town. Then they're probably on the east side. Yeah, they were both on the east side, which is odd too. Yeah,
that is pretty odd, though. I mean, you got to admit that is pretty odd. And then, why would they change the name of the street? Like
sometimes they do that. Like at Miami, they've changed the name of just about every building. People say, "Oh, that used to be Old Color Hall, but now it's this hall." And I don't know, people do that. But
streets are kind of different. Like freaking the street my grandparents grew up on is like over 200 years old. It's called Sunny Slope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been Sunny Slope from the beginning. It's Sunny Slope today. You know, I mean, now,
sometimes they never change, but then sometimes they do, depending on if the place has grown or just who knows what.
Then they switched it from Prospect to Progress.
I think it
either that or vice versa. I forget what they changed it to.
Yeah, I had that on there too.
Because
because I know they did change the name, but I'm not sure if I had that in the right order.
It was on Prospect Hill, but I think it was always on the same street, Progress Avenue. Yeah.
Progress Avenue. So.
And then Minor Avenue was where the Ruperts were.
All right. And what was the name of that avenue again?
Progress.
No, the one with the Ruperts.
Minor Avenue.
Minor, and then Prospect.
Or Progress.
And
Progress.
now it's Progress, right?
I don't think so. I think it actually was called Progress. Let me see. It happened on Prospect Hill is what they called it.
Prospect Hill.
Yeah, what Elmer was saying had changed. Not the name of the street, perhaps the
name. The name of like the burb of Hamilton, because Hamilton has little different sections. They changed the name of the section.
Yeah.
Okay, I had that wrong.
See, now it's getting all spooky because freaking you're talking about mining. Okay, this is like references to miners and shit. So you got some kind of crazy Stephen King shit going on there.
A Minor Avenue.
It's an old mining town horror story.
Yeah.
But Hamilton was never a mining town. It was more just farm. Middletown was an old steel town.
But they called it Little Chicago back when the first murders happened. They said Hamilton was out for Chicago gangsters in the era of Prohibition, and they brought with them vice and violence. But the city's most horrific crime in that time had nothing to do with bootleg whiskey or fancy women, but with a hard-working bachelor trying to take care of his sick brother's family. And he loved them so much, he would rather see them dead than homeless. I mean, I do not know how he got $1,600 house payment back in 1925. I don't know what kind of job he had then. Maybe he worked at one of the steel places. But even then, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
To loan. I can't imagine a bank loaning somebody that much.
Well, you see, you said that it is a steel company, right?
I don't know where this man worked, but if he had to work at probably Mosler or one of those places like that down there. There was a Mosler Safe. There were some paper companies down there too, but still, I can't imagine that even if he made a lot, that how they thought he could pay that. I don't know what was wrong with the bank that loaned that to him,
I know what that's all about. They were making money, dude. Like, I guarantee you, he's not the only one. Like, they probably thought that they found like the kosher golden spot where if they freaking lived there, they were going to get rich, they were going to make money, and all these bankers were pushing that freaking agenda. I check into it. I guarantee you'll find freaking prices were probably expensive as hell back then.
That was probably one of the things that.
Now, if you think about like a person that has a big house, $1,600 is a pretty good amount now.
Yeah.
Even.
Well, did you say that's payments? Those are payments.
That was his house payment in 1920. One man.
Yeah.
I was like, good Lord.
That's a lot of
money.
I
mean, if you adjust for inflation, it's probably like 10 or 15 grand a day. I don't know what how you would calculate what that'd be in today's money, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean,
I can see why he was under such pressure. Because that was phenomenally too much.
You need to contact the newspaper place and let them know that they made a typo.
I don't think so.
It could be a typo. I mean, seriously.
I don't think it is, because I've read it in there's more than one article that says it, and that's why they were saying it's, if you look at that today, I mean, it's overwhelming. But
I still say it's a typo. There's no way. I'm sorry, but like that's a lot of money.
Well, he had to, maybe he had his mother co-sign or something. You never know. He might have. Maybe his brother was working part-time, but I don't know all the details about it.
Actually, how many people were in his family again?
Well, there was 3 adults. That was 4. It was his brother and his wife and his mother and him. So, but I don't think the mother was working. I don't think anybody was working but him.
How many kids? Like you said he killed like how many?
8. So there had to be 4. Yeah, and actually, there was a child that got away. I think it was a little girl that got away in this crime.
So that would be
Yeah,
9.
but yeah, she didn't get shot though. So there was 8 he killed.
8, and then the one that got away, that's 9 people. So you're talking about a house that's big enough to house 9 people.
Yeah, of course, back in the day, if you go down to Hamilton, there are some very, very large homes because a lot of times back in that time, back in the day, there were several families living in some of those houses. And
Hmm.
nowadays, they've divided them up and they'll rent to like 4 different people or 6 different people, 6 different, families or whatever. But back in the day, those homes were pretty big like that.
Hmm.
You know, sure, it was one of those huge homes, like on Dayton Street, Austin. You've seen them.
Oh yeah, because they had extended families living together and several different families in a lot of cases.
Back a lot, in the 20, and, families lived together. They didn't, now we're getting back to that. It seems like because people are so broke.
Everything's getting so expensive. Extended families are living together. They're going to go back to homesteading and get off the grid like the
Homestead and get
homestead frontier homes. I was watching a show about that the other night.
Which,
now.
which really strange too. I mean, we talked about Rupert and we talked about this Lloyd guy, but also we talked about Rhett Depew, and outside of Oxford, that was pretty bad. I mean, he killed 3 girls and their mother. Wasn't it, Austin? Was it 3? Yeah, or
Yeah,
was it
yeah.
2? I can't remember now. I have to look that one up too. Um, and he took the baby outside and didn't kill it, but I'll have to look that up. But that's pretty good size for outside of Oxford. That's and that kind of murder.
And Oxford and Hamilton are within about 15 minutes of each other too. So
I,
Um,
I think that it's the whole area. That's one thing that we were talking about the other day, which in that episode we didn't wasn't able to keep. But it was like I seriously think that that's the whole region. I know that it's kind of making it sound loose and everything, but if you stop and think about it, and then I've driven through there in semi truck, and I've seen how bad the terrain is there. So I'm sure that there's a whole lot of accidents, whole lot of deaths, everything in that area. Because that's not a terrain even that you want to drive in when it comes to frickin' big trucks and stuff like that. I
it's
could,
scary.
So in the
Yeah.
trucking world, this is a pretty bad area. I remember you saying something last week about this being a big trucking
yeah.
graveyard.
Yeah. He killed 3. He killed Teresa Jones, her daughter Aubrey 7, and her other daughter who was 12. And there was a baby in the house, and he took the baby out and set the house on fire.
Oh,
So
so
that's pretty.
so the
At that
baby survived.
Yeah, it was in 1905.
At least you let the baby survive.
Yeah, there's some story. Yeah, there's some speculation about all that. I mean, he lived in the basement for a while and rented there.
That's really weird.
He was married. Her husband worked evenings, and he was friends with Rhett. But then they threw Rhett out for some reason, and Rhett supposedly came back to get get something and got into an argument with Teresa, and he said he just lost it.
So
So
he
yeah,
he came back to get revenge.
as I'm thinking, yeah, there's more to that story, but not sure exactly what it is. I mean, I
And
did that.
Red will probably take whatever he knows to his grave with him.
Yeah,
I mean,
I knew him.
he's
Oh, I said I knew him. He used to come into the restaurant I worked at, and he was a real nice guy. But he's like I said, I had an older kind of a experience with him. So yeah, very odd.
Now he's is he the one that was talking to you about UFOs and stuff and aliens?
No, I was very young. I think I was probably only like 17, and I got married right out of high school. So I still might have been just 17 or 18. But he used to come in on a trucking crew from Miami University, and he came in with two other guys, and they were always cutting up and stuff. They were all sweet, and they weren't, But Rhett told one of the women that worked there that he liked me and wanted to ask me out. And first off, I had a wedding ring on, but I told her, I said, well, why would he do that? And so anyway, I didn't pay any attention to it. But he came up. We had a drive-through window, so he came up to the drive-through, and I waited on him. And he said, "Did your friend tell you that I want to go out with you?" And I said, "Yeah, but I'm married, and plus he was lots older than me, and I wasn't mean to him at all. I was nice, and I was like, but I'm married, and so now, and it was like, if you've ever watched somebody die or something, there's something in their eyes. Everything just changes." Well, I was looking at him, and he went from being kind of happy to just this weird. It was just weird. Something was weird, and I got scared. So anyway, he got his stuff and he took off, and I could tell he was pissed. And I told my friend, I said, "Don't mention me to him. Don't talk to him about."
Yeah, see, you actually brought that. I remember that. Now that had to do with that apartment murder, wasn't it?
No, that was Red Depew. He's the one that killed Teresa and the two girls.
Yeah.
So he was one, and I was really surprised. When they couldn't figure out who it was for the longest time, and then they finally found out who it was. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, it was like you see something and you look back on it, and then you realize what it is or what it was. And I was like, he snaps or something. There's something with him that's, and
you're not like freaking out and everything and thinking like you rejected him and he flipped out and decided to kill everybody in his family.
Who knows? I mean, I was there.
The whole thing's my mom's fault.
Yeah, see, she's trying to take the blame.
You say she's a troublemaker, man. She had a stronger touch than I even never assumed.
I never.
These people are dead because of her.
I never said that, but I guess if
don't.
Maybe at fault. But I'm saying I never thought of him maybe doing something to me if I hadn't been at a place of work.
Yeah. Truth.
Oh yeah, he could have.
I never thought about that. I just thought to myself that I just saw something in him, and I think he had some dark side that nobody knew about. So yeah.
And see, that goes back to what I was saying. Like, I think that when we first started this stuff, I mean, I know you're like real big on saying that it's all paranormal and everything, but I honestly think that it's a mix, because like there's things you pick up on too that really technically isn't paranormal. Okay.
No, I think it's just intuition, and they call it the power of fear. There's
other things too, like, okay, you remember when you were talking about your driveway and always hearing that car pull up that was never there?
Right, yeah.
And then you said there was a well that was underneath the house where you was living at, in the kitchen area.
Well, of our house, outside of our kitchen, actually we used it. It was a really pretty little well, but it was a deep well. Yeah, we got water from that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could, I mean, who's to say that you couldn't pick up on certain things? You know what I mean? You had that kind of vibe going on where you could pick up on those kind of things.
I think some people are in tune with it, and but I think as women, I've always heard that we talk ourselves out of stuff a lot because people laugh at us and say, "Oh, you're overreacting," or "You watch too many murder mysteries." But I've always told my daughter to listen to her intuitions. Just don't think that you're overreacting. Yeah. Because not. Well, that goes for men too, because how many times
I think some of it's survival instinct.
Yeah.
You like animals have to rely on their instincts to survive or know when they're in danger.
And we've
you know, in
got
the wild. And humans have gotten away from that in modern society because we just think we've got everything figured out, you know, with our science and our technology.
Hey, look at the way he said science. With science.
In our
you guys have had
Fuck science.
ex- haven't you guys experienced that yourself where somebody just doesn't hit you right, but and maybe everybody
Yeah.
else likes something, or
oh yeah, many times.
you'll feel like maybe it's not even a person. Like you'll be in a place and you'll think, I don't feel safe here for some reason.
Well,
Maybe there's
Sometimes you feel a vibe, you know.
Yeah.
that's the thing is I'm trying to say too. Like you pick up on it a lot easier than what most people do. Is what I'm getting at. Like okay, whenever we were talking about Michael Paul, all right, he went into the YMCA and he just had that feeling. And then we were talking with Austin, and Austin said something about the YMCA too, wasn't it?
That's where the whole paranormal journey that's pretty much led up to me being a part of this community and, you know, this show and stuff began, you know.
Yeah.
That was kind of my introductory in the paranormal world.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, on that chlorine, and then it reminded me of World War One, which I shouldn't have known about when I was only 3 years old. And well, you know, you guys both know the story, so
Right.
a lot of the viewers on here might not, but I could drop a link to my very first interview for old John
Yeah.
with
But-
so they can.
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? I mean, like these aren't like these are supernatural, is what I'm saying. Like they're supernatural abilities. I really believe, and like when it comes, and don't get me wrong, I'm not getting into remote viewing and stuff like that. I'm not saying that about anything about that. I'm saying about like freaking having the ability to freaking pick up on things that most people don't pick up on. You know what I mean? Like
Well, I think what do they call people that are like that? They can
Psychic.
psychic.
Psychic. I mean, it falls under the umbrella of psychic abilities.
they say they're more sensitive. There's a word for it. I always think that I got it from because I grew up on a farm, and not a big farm, but we had horses and we had cats and dogs, and we always had kind of animals. And I think when you grow up around animals, you just kind of learn that, you know, your instinct. You can pick up maybe just emotions or I don't know.
More important, the animals' emotions and the way they're thinking and what they're doing, you know?
Right. I think you just kind of get in tune with the emotions and how, you know, living things operate. And it's a lot of it's their eyes. A lot of it's in their eyes. They say, you know, the mirror to the soul is your eyes. Well, I believe that because what I saw with him was just weird. It just was like somebody flipped a switch, but you can see it in animals too sometimes if they go like in the red zone with dogs. I don't know if you've ever heard that the dog whisperer. He said, oh, if a dog goes into the red zone, they're not your little sweet dog anymore. They've reverted back to the wild. So that's always something, you know, I've always watched with, especially horses. You have to be careful because they're big animals, and you got to be careful with them. So I think you just kind of.
Have you ever tried to train horses?
I had actually the horse I had was born on the farm, farm that I lived on, and I trained him. I rode him and everything. I did everything with him. I was the first person that rode him and everything. But he was just a little baby. He was a colt, so you know it wasn't hard. We just kind of, I trained him like. He wasn't afraid. It wasn't like I was riding a wild horse or anything. You know, it wasn't a Mustang. It wasn't like, oh, we got this old Mustang. I'm going to teach him. You know, I'm going to ride him. It was my. Yeah, I had a colt from, like I said, and then just kind of trained him a little bit at a time.
Yeah. See, that's a lot more than what people make it out to be too. Like whenever you're training a horse, I mean, because the majority of the time, the most important thing about horses is learning how to tie knots. There's 3 type of knots that you need to learn how to tie. The rest of it is getting to know your horse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all about trust. You just got to teach them to trust you, and then they become. It's almost like they become one with you. Like if you're with a dog, you develop a bond, and you know that dog, or that horse. I knew like his fears and a lot of things about him because he was just a little baby, and I pretty much had been there with him all along, so I knew what his temperament was and everything.
Yeah.
And I think if you grow up around animals, you maybe you're like that with people too, a little bit more.
John was talking about reading people as well, and like that's another thing. People, it seems like they're not capable of doing that anymore. Like you can just read people if you pay attention to what they're doing and what they're saying, how they're behaving. And
Yeah.
it seems like less people today are able to do that than what they were when we were younger. So.
Well, why do you think that is, though? They're always looking at their phone and they're not making eye contact. Because my boyfriend and I have talked about that. He's like, you're looking at your phone. You don't look at people, and no one looks at your face anymore. They don't look at your eyes.
Those are skills you gain through social interaction. People's social interaction now is very minimal compared to what it used to be, largely because of technology. I think.
So we know how to read each other. You can't read people's emotions through a text message or an email.
It has no context.
And how many times have you texted somebody and then like you're in a bad mood and then you take it wrong and then they didn't mean it that way at all.
Yeah.
So
I think that just happened to me actually with Darker Things, because like whenever we were supposed to do an interview with Bob Dub, like I accidentally told him it was on Thursday when it was on Wednesday, and I was in the wrong for it, right? And then he sent me a message and asked me when we were going to do it, and I was like, we already did it, and he turned around and he said, what? And it was like freaking, I told him that, and he's like, well, I didn't want you to think I bailed out on you and everything. I'm like, hold on, man, I didn't say it like that, but I was like, I never said that, So,
right.
But hopefully he understands that I wasn't trying to say that he bailed out on it, but I think he.
I mean, you guys didn't get into it over it, did you, or anything?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. No.
You don't think so?
Yeah. He was.
Well, you don't know because you're texting and stuff, so you don't know.
For all you know, he could be fuming.
Well, he's sick too, and I was telling your mom before he was able to get on here, like sick old men, and they're like freaking all. They're horrible.
Right.
They're horrible. He's probably Mr. Grump Butt.
Is he gonna be all right, or is he just?
It's the sinuses.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My partner Gerald had, but I noticed Gerald and I, because if we're not together, like if he goes to his house for a while and we text, we always kind of get into it because we take the text wrong, and I'm. And we'll say we're just not going to text anymore, Jill.
What you could do to give those texts some context, maybe like use emojis or something that kind of fit the context. I know I don't like them either, but they.
I do that. He's not gonna do that. Not at his age. He's kind of old school.
Not his age.
I hate texting, so we try to talk on the phone if like when he was sick, because I'm like. It seems like, and he's in particular like defensive. I could say something nice about him, and he gets defensive.
You just bashed him. You called him an old man. Yeah, he's just an old man. You know how they are.
No, he's old school.
Yeah.
Cool. I said he was old
That's
school.
better. That's better.
But he is old. I mean, he says old, but he is. But he's old school. He's more old school. But I know sometimes. Text him and I'll be teasing him, and then he'll call and he'll like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like,
yeah, He wants to confront you face to face. We ain't gonna be typing none of this stuff.
No, we ain't having none of that. We ain't having none of that shit.
He's like, "What's up? What's up?" I'm the same way when it comes to old school though. I like a lot of this stuff is ridiculous.
Men aren't texting and emojis and stuff. They're not. They don't like that anyway, right?
I don't really love emojis, but if I'm afraid something I'm saying is might rub somebody the wrong way, I'll use them to try and give it the context I'm going after.
Right.
But don't get me wrong, I don't like emojis. I mean, it's kind of on the.
I think that they were introduced to the internet by women. I really do, because women love emojis. They know an entire language of emojis.
We're more.
Oh yeah, like back in the old days, when girls used to write the letters and stuff by hand.
Yeah.
They dot their I's with hearts and stuff, and it was kind of the same thing, and it was kind of where I think the whole emoji thing was born, because I used to have girls write me letters in high school and stuff. They dot their I's with hearts, and there'd be all these fancy characters. I'm like, I just write the letters, they're all caps. It's just easier for me.
Well, I like it.
But
I'll send Jerry.
that was back when I knew how to write before technology took over and just started doing the writing for me.
That's
yeah.
But I'll send a good night. I'll send a real one of those quotes or one of those animated things, and then Gerald just send me. He'll just say.
Yeah.
I'll tease him. I'll say something, and then he'll try to send something, but it's usually not great. But he does the best he can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think women are more. We're just more like that.
We should probably talk about that second murder.
Yeah. The one of Lloyd. What's his name?
Lloyd
Russell.
Yeah, Lloyd Russell.
I
think we kind of derailed on that. It's like
I don't know how we wound up on this. We wound up somehow on the topic of emojis and girls dotting their I's with hearts.
Well, because of
I don't know, man.
I think it was Red.
Because of Rhett Depew.
Yeah.
So because of some guy that.
He's in his cell right now listening to this. I mean, it scares me because I'm like.
Yeah, he's still.
He's
still alive.
Like, seriously, what's he gonna do? Seriously.
Maybe he knows somebody on the outside who can find us, or you never know, man. Those people still do business from behind bars.
Yeah.
Some of those murders, man, they're like octopuses. They got tentacles that go outside the prison and get people,
No, don't scare your mom, though. She's probably going to be peeking out the window for like a week now. Like, oh my God, he's coming for me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
He's like sitting there in the cell just fuming like that pretty girl at the restaurant's talking shit.
But it's the whole world, and sometimes you don't know what people remember. Because I was telling Austin a story about that somebody used to go to school with. He said he apologized for something, and I told Austin, I said, God, I don't even remember what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I have no idea, because I don't remember it. It's been like when I was in high school. And, so you never know how you affect people. And it might be something that you totally forget about and never think about again, but that person still remembers it.
Mm-hmm. They're sitting around making a list and putting lipstick on.
No, I don't know, but,
never know.
Yeah.
Well, and it can happen to any of us. You've seen people do that. Like they remember something you said like 30 years ago, and you don't remember it at all. So, yeah.
It's true. That right there is real life stuff. Like everybody likes tippy-toeing around this freaking shooting in high school thing. Like they don't really know what causes that. You know what I mean? Like, but you know what it is. I know what it is. Especially if you've had bullies in school, you know where that shit's coming from.
Yeah.
These kids aren't like waking up one day and just all of a sudden they want to shoot somebody. You know what I mean? They're like,
No, the progression.
And then when life's messing with them, the doctors just want to give them drugs that mess with their head even more.
Right.
You know, and there's that too.
Well, back to the 1925 murder. I was reading. I'll read here what the police officer said. He said, "In all my experience in the trenches and battlefields of France, because he was a soldier, I never saw a sight more ghastly than that at the Russell home."
Yeah, now that police officer responded. He was like, "Yeah, he was a World War I hero. He was highly decorated and everything." And he'd say, he's seen some fucked up shit, but.
And I always wonder about the little girl that escaped. What happened to her? Because police officer said that Russell told the officers to tell the little girl. He said, "Tell her his name was Walton. He said, tell her I loved her." So that's weird.
That's why he brought her out instead of killing her, is because he only seemed to love her and not the other ones.
No, she got away. He was going to kill her too.
Oh,
he told the police officer. He said, "Tell her, I'm sorry, and it was only because I loved them and I loved her."
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so this is the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one from 1925.
1925.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's crazy. See?
So, and then one, Rupert, I think he just died. He was in prison for life, of course, and I think he just died recently.
Now,
but that was the Easter thing. It was terrible. They said that some of the kids even had like Easter eggs in their mouth and stuff. And we talked about how nobody heard it. Nobody heard it in the neighborhood.
Right.
And he sat there for 3 hours. Rupert sat there for 3 hours before he called the police and said, "I killed my family."
And see, that's the crazy stuff. That is the crazy stuff.
I mean, the houses are pretty close there, but they are older homes, and older homes, you can't hear stuff as much. And maybe people were just loud. If they're in their house, they're all talking and carrying on. So, and distract.
You got to stop and think about that, though. I mean, seriously, you know what I mean? Like, what I was talking about in the one in the episode that didn't get thing was like the first actual murder that happened in Amityville. Okay, instead of the movie version, the part 2 video or movie with the DeFay. Okay, now
Ronald DeFeo.
Yeah, Ronald DeFeo. Now, like in the movie, it makes it out like it was storming and raining and everything, but the truth is it was there wasn't a cloud in the sky. There was no rain, no nothing. Okay.
Wow.
And this guy went from room to room and killed every single member of his family, and not one of them even moved. They said that the bodies were actually laying on their stomach, and freaking not one of them moved. It didn't show any signs of drugs or anything like that.
Wow.
He didn't drug them. He didn't do anything. He went from room to room and killed all of them, and nobody heard a noise and woke up. No neighbors freaking heard a noise at all.
Strange.
Yeah, that's strange. That is strange. And then when you take and look at what you're saying right there, nobody even heard anything.
No, because he sat there for 3 hours before he called the police.
Yeah.
Rupert. Yeah. Now I don't know about the other murder, if people heard that or not. I'm
now you said too.
Didn't read.
You said something too about a crippling shot, like on one of them.
Oh. He shot him, and then he shot him another time to make sure that they were dead. Yeah. So he saved and then shot them
right.
fatally.
And,
everyone.
And they had.
So that's a lot.
Yeah. He had what, 12 members in his family, is what you said?
11.
11. So 22 shots. And nobody heard that.
I know.
Yeah, didn't Dad, like, Dad lived over there really close by in an apartment or something around that time. He said he
Lived
didn't hear nothing.
on Gordon now. With his dad and mom, stepmother. So that's pretty close to Minor, I think, and then other progress. And
Yeah, you'd think he would have. Yeah, because he was close enough. He should have heard something, you know. But
I don't know. Maybe, and he didn't have a silencer on the gun, but maybe just people maybe heard something and didn't think anything of it. Or maybe they thought
yeah,
because
and
the
then,
kids
and
were
then
there, people. I don't know.
Hmm.
realized that he did hear it. Maybe
Yeah.
sometimes you hear it and don't realize it. Maybe.
We
Yeah.
lived in an old farmhouse, and I swear I loved it because the walls were so thick in that farmhouse. I could go upstairs in my bedroom and not hear what, like if my daughter or Austin was having a party downstairs. I couldn't hear much. The walls were made of like different than they are nowadays in houses. And really, it's amazing in a big house like that, you can't even hear what's going on downstairs. I mean, I could have heard a gunfire, but outside of that house, I don't think so. You wouldn't, would you, Austin? It was pretty soundproof.
No, that house was pretty soundproof because I had my studio upstairs, and I could jam out real loud up there, and you guys sitting downstairs couldn't even hardly hear it a lot of the time.
Right. Or
And,
And I got
with their little girlfriends, and I would just go up there. I was like, oh God, all these girls just getting on my nerves. So I go upstairs and just get away from them for a while. And
I've got
there's
an
men.
idea. I've got an idea, but it's up to Summer if she wants to do it.
What?
Drive over there and check the house out.
What? Check what house out?
The house in that the murders took
Rupert?
place in.
Oh, well, we talked about that last week too. There's a lady that lives there now.
Well, I mean, you
and
don't have to like go in or nothing. Just kind of like look
no,
at it.
she said people go by all the time looking at it. She said she doesn't. A lot of people moved in and out of that house and said that some creepy things were happening. But this lady lives there with her kids, and she said it's not scary to her. She said nothing's happened to them, but she did say there was blood on the in the basement.
Oh yeah.
She said it's never come out. It doesn't come out of the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Because they cleaned up the floors up above, but they couldn't get it out of the rafters and the wood. And she said there is blood in the basement when you go in the laundry area. So she said that's kind of creepy.
I don't know how you get in touch with her to let you go in, or if she would even be willing to do that, because she probably has people bother her and stuff because of
I
the.
think a lot of people bother her. She said occasionally they drive by and they'll ask her or something. I don't know if people have ever asked to come in. And the other one, I don't know if that house is even there. When the Lloyd guy did, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up the address, maybe we'd be able to find it, but it's hard to say.
It could be
Yep.
an empty field too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably that Hamilton's got a lot of vacant lots and stuff hanging out these days.
Yeah.
They have they actually have the address on here.
Now,
343 Progress Avenue.
now remember, you have Google Maps, so if you type in the address, you can probably get a look at it. And I'm not talking about like going over there and intruding on people or nothing, but
Too, I could look it up on the auditor's website. They have pictures, Butler County auditors.
They have pictures of the insides of houses and stuff on there, which is, I don't know if that's morally or ethically a good thing, but
They have
but
many.
they,
Yeah. And if they're for sale, sometimes you can find pictures of, like, my house is still out there. I don't know why. But the whole thing is, like, my real estate pictures.
like right there on that's your back porch, right?
What?
Right there where you're sitting at. That's your back porch,
Oh.
right?
My basement, and it goes out on a deck. There's
Oh.
a deck out there.
It looks
y'all.
it looks like all decorated like the Brady Bunch and stuff, like with the concrete stone
Brady-
right there.
That concrete stone is from the
Yeah.
well, the house was built in '79, so
The
Yeah.
hearth. It's a hearth. It's got like a fireplace over there. See,
See,
it?
that's cool as hell. You got all that cool stuff. That's the
that's
retro.
badass.
That's the retro stuff.
But it has that retro stone brick wall from
Right.
the late '70s in it.
But yeah,
So that's
they remodeled the basement and like made it, because I think
I'd keep it.
it was
I
kind of
would.
rough and now
Don't,
fixed
don't
it.
ever let them change that. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah, I like it. I spend a lot more time down here. I mean, really, the house is kind of big for me because upstairs, I got a couple 3 bedrooms up there, little bedrooms, but still.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find houses that are smaller when you're looking for homes.
Well, you don't really want to downsize. Everybody always says that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Just
Well,
you
ask,
don't.
ask also how big the other house was. I did want to downsize from that, didn't I, Austin?
yeah,
Tell me how big that
that was a behemoth.
You end up keep that in your mind. Next thing you know, you're living in like a midget's house where you have to keep your head down because you'll hit the roof.
Clown.
Yeah.
Living in a midget house, driving a clown car.
Yeah.
with taxes and everything, you do feel like downsizing more and more. But the next thing you know, you'd be living in a little tiny room.
Yeah. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to eventually be living in a little bitty tiny room and you're not freaking, owning anything because, of course, the state owns it or some,
Yeah.
give up all your property and just move into the housing and
That's
stuff.
what they want. Yeah, you can't go nowhere anymore without being taxed to death either. So that's
everything.
and that's the point now. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys want to talk more about this. It would kind of, that's the gist of it, though. I mean, it's getting about 10 o'clock, so.
Yeah,
10 o'clock.
you've only got like 3 more minutes left, so.
Yeah.
I think what we really need though, Summer, is for you to say some marvelously intelligent things for your viewers to take in and stuff so that we can fill in those 3 minutes because and you can't cause no more trouble, okay? You can't say something that's going to spur this huge conversation. That the stuff's going to... I mean, because you do that all the time. You're a troublemaker.
Yeah.
says something that spurs a huge conversation and goes on for forever.
Yeah. She gets us in trouble.
So, yeah, and we're, you're supposed to be talking about music or...
Now, okay, let me ask you for the last 3 seconds or minutes, so that you know what do you think when you read these two things? Do you think there's something that's in common between both of them that kind of relates to some crazy stuff, spooky stuff?
I think they both were, I think demented, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just...
You're showing your cards off. I can literally see your freaking...
Yeah, your all of your
all
whole
cards, your credit
your
cards.
whole case, all your cards in it was right in front of the whole screen.
You're gonna have people copying your freaking cards,
Stealing your identity.
No, well, the one, he was really upset because of, he was just, I think it was a psychotic break.
Mm-hmm.
A total
Yeah, Rupert was already a walking psychotic break for years that finally broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
I mean,
both of them were, yeah.
Yeah.
It is weird that the two biggest familicides though in American history took place in the same town within 50 years of each other.
And blocks away from one another too.
Yeah. Now even I mean, even in the same town, they were just like the same section of the same town.
Yeah.
So
Now
that is kind of a strange thing.
now that I think about it, we probably shouldn't have you going over there, Summer. Don't need you like getting
Like a
hurt.
drive-by there or something.
Come back
Yeah.
all crazy and wanting to kill everybody.
Right, right.
So
No, I think that the two similarities are that they were both at breaking points for one reason or another. You know, they just kind of, what do you call it? Just had psychotic breaks.
well, we'll find out. That Austin said that 50 years is coming up. So keep your ears open and your eyes open. Like it could be true. I mean, 50 years.
2025 could be 2025. We could be due for another big familicide in Hamilton.
Right. Well,
So
anyway, that I guess that's what else can we say? So we can just wrap it up here, you think? Or
Yeah,
is there anything else?
that's
Okay.
it. You got to
All
say
right.
something nice to the people who are watching though, so that we can like tell them that we appreciate stuff. So you do
Okay,
have to
well-
do that.
I appreciate any comments. I welcome comments. So thanks for listening if you've been listening, and have a great Easter. And we'll sign off. Bye.
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 You can get out of here.
I'm working on getting out of here.
Okay, so I've got those done. Now I'm stopping.